Welcome to the video. This is Alex. I'm going to just kind of walk through what our mugshot removal service kind of entails. It's not a sales video. It's just there's a lot going on in this service, so I just kind of figured it'd be best to make a video, kind of go over everything so you can understand what it is exactly that you would be purchasing. So mugshot removal, strategic persona and reputation development, SEO, public relations, web design, social media management, and private consulting are all encompassed in this price. So when you have a mugshot, the first thing you're going to do is generally give somebody a call about it and try to figure out how you can get rid of it. So we've been around since 2012. We're the longest running mugshot company in existence. We've seen a lot of mugshot publishing sites come and some of them go offline and get replaced, and it's kind of like a cycle, so you'll see different ones. So if you have a mugshot, a lot of things determine how that removal process works. So what is the disposition of your case? Is it pending? Has it been dropped? Has it been dismissed? Did you go through some kind of pre-trial intervention? Was adjudication withheld? Did you plead no contest, guilty? Was the case actually sealed or expunged, or is it still public record? So there's a lot of things, a lot of factors that can determine how we approach mugshot removal, depending on each person's situation. Another thing is, what site is the image on? Is it on like a sheriff website? Because a lot of sheriffs have the new, I think it's called New Access or New World something. It's like a system that they use to book and manage the jails, and part of that includes a web portal that displays mugshots. So if your mugshot is displayed on that type of a website, there's no way you can get it removed. Now, sometimes the sheriff will have a policy where they'll delete the mugshot after 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, or it might just stay there because they don't know how to work the software. It just depends. Or is it, on a news media website? So did you do something or get involved in a situation to where there's an article that's been written about it and the mugshot is embedded within that article? Because a situation like that is completely different. Regardless of the disposition of your case, that story may persist. Is it just an Adsense site? An Adsense is basically just Google's program where they'll place advertising on a person's website, and that person can monetize the traffic that they're getting on that website, which a majority of the mugshot websites run on that model. They have advertising and they make money from the advertising. Is it on a social media post? Sometimes these mugshot websites can't get traffic through organic search rankings. So what they do is they piggyback off of a social media website. So they might publish the image on Twitter or Facebook or a site like that, and then drive traffic to their website from the social media platforms. Lastly, is it like a private blog? Sometimes there are websites that people just have and they'd like to write about crime stories because that's just, I don't know, what they're interested in. So what type of site the image is on is a factor in how we approach the mugshot removal. Some sites will take the image down depending on the disposition of your case. Some sites you may not be able to have that image taken down at all. Some sites will keep the image or keep the page up but take the image down, or update the status of the case and still leave that result there. You might not be able to actually remove that, so then you have to look at the strategy. Is it going to be removal or is it going to be suppression? That's another thing to think about. If you get a 404 error and they delete the page, then your next step then is just getting it out of the Google index, which it can happen on its own, or you could submit a request via Google Webmaster Tools and you can take care of that. If it's a site like where they want to put a placeholder image, then you might want to look at suppression, because that information is still available online. It's still going to show up in a search result. And then of course there's legislation that's been enacted in about 23 states, I believe now. So there are different workarounds that some of the sites are having, but there are still sites that will, for instance, take your page down but leave your image up, so that way they can still get traffic. They could say that the page is down, but the image will still show up in Google. And a lot of lawmakers don't really understand technology. They don't understand search engines. They don't understand how these processes work. They don't understand web hosting. And so they don't understand how these mugshot websites are still kind of skirting the law, because it looks like the page is gone, but that image is still persisting on their server and it's still being cached in a search result. So it's still appearing. So there are a lot of creative ways that these mugshot websites have kind of taken advantage of the law and the ignorance of lawmakers. And same thing kind of goes with lawyers, because you see sometimes criminal defense lawyers are now trying to offer legal services or mugshot removal services through cease and desist letters, which that is a way to approach it. You could send a cease and desist letter to the hosting provider or the domain provider and hope that they take that down. But I mean, that's a long, cumbersome process, and it's outside of the internet, and most lawyers don't understand how the internet works unless they work with intellectual property law or certain kind of copyright law. Generally, a criminal defense lawyer knows absolutely nothing about the internet other than they pay a guy to try to rank in Google. I'm sure there's a couple exceptions to the rule, but generally that's not the case. The art of suppression, if it's not on the first page, you're not going to see that result. 92 to 97% of people won't see that result. And suppression is a very effective tactic. It just depends on how long. Let me rephrase that. Suppression is a very effective tactic. It's more effective in Bing than it is in Google, meaning that it's a lot easier to suppress something in Bing than it is in Google. So one of the ways that we're going to suppress content is with a press release. And here's an example of a press release for a result that was in Bing. And you can see, like, the first result is the website that was created for the client. Second is a social media profile. Third is just this big, kind of snippet that appears in Bing in relation to that press release. And you can see, like, every result is, our client launches a website dedicated to their passions for the website, and it takes up the entire first page in Bing. Now, that's not going to happen in Google, but some websites, mugshot websites, only appear in Bing. They don't appear in Google. Google has a more discerning algorithm, and you're not going to see a lot of mugshot websites appearing in Google, but you will see them generally when those images are first published. And then if those images, when they're first published, get interacted with and people are actually like clicking on it and looking at the result, then they can persist. It's important to kind of get on the issue as soon as you're kind of aware of it. If it's an image that's in Google, if it's in Bing, it's pretty easy to kind of suppress that image, and you don't really have to worry about it as much in terms of getting it removed. I mean, obviously you want to get that removed if it's possible, but that may not always be the case. And just to give you an idea of like how much it costs to get a press release, I mean, the press release that we're going to send out for you is above the $349, but it's not going to include as many sites as this $5.99 option that Newswire is offering, because you will get Yahoo News, but you're not going to get as many links as you would get in the Newswire Digital Plus. So you're looking at about a $425 value just for the press release alone. Now, we're also going to write the press release for you, and then we're also going to optimize it for the keywords, and then we're going to link to the web properties that are most likely to rank and that will rank and persist in the search results for your name. You're going to get a personal website. So an example of a website would be this right here, and it's going to have some of your images, and it's going to have some entities related to what you're interested in or what your job is, and then we'll generate text and fill in that text. And it'll be a decent looking website, and it'll just be something to catch the eye of a visitor or somebody who's searching for you online. Because I mean, ultimately you are constructing a persona for yourself and an image that you want for people to see when they're searching you. So I mean, that's what the service is for, is to basically restore your reputation and create the reputation that you want to present to people online. So another part of this would be 200 to 800 web properties. It really depends on our strategy and what we're doing. So if we're actually actively trying to suppress something in Google, and it's a like an on a news website, you're probably going to need all 800 web properties, including the optimization on those web properties. If we're able to get those images removed and we don't have to suppress anything, then there'll be about 200 of the web properties that would be created. And those web properties are just going to be created to block, to basically get in the search results and establish position in a search for your name and block any person or aspiring new mugshot website owner that wants to republish your image again. It's to basically get a foothold in the search results and protect you against anybody who decides to republish that image, because you don't want to be blindsided by your image reappearing online. And with our service, it's removal, suppression, and protection, and we don't charge you per image or anything like that. Once we take care of you, we want to ensure that you're not going to have to worry about anything. So that's why we do create those web properties. Optimized video content. An example of this is, you can see that we have a snippet right here on this YouTube channel. And basically it takes up real estate, and you can see that this photo here is also the same picture of that YouTube thumbnail. Optimizing that video content is another strategy for suppression. Optimizing media assets. So we'll optimize the photos that you send to us. If you want to remain anonymous, you can use stock photos, and we'll use stock photos, and you don't have to have your photo on the internet. We'll take and create PDFs. We'll take content that's generated, text content, and we can convert that into audio with AI. And then we also can create apps, and apps are a great way to take up a spot in the search results for your name. Like it's pretty easy to rank an app on the first page for a query for somebody's name. So optimization in SEO, there'll be tiered linking. So basically your web properties will link to each other and to your website, and then we'll build links to those web properties. There's some user data that goes into optimizing the web properties that are built, social traffic, sending social traffic to the web properties, and then of course on page SEO, and that means like adding in title tags, OG tags, and the appropriate descriptors and information so that the search engines know what the page and what the content is about. And again, that is going to help protect you against people who are republishing your image. And we keep your website online for 2 years. So that protection is for 2 years. If you decide to extend that, you can extend that, and the protection will last as long as you choose to extend it. And it's just the cost to extend it is basically the cost to host a website. You simply would just be keeping your website online and hosting it, which is roughly around anywhere from about $10 a month. It's a one-time cost for everything. So the price that you're sold is the price that you pay. It doesn't matter how many images you have or how long it takes to suppress the image. I mean, the service is the service, and you get locked in at the cost that you pay for it initially, and that's it. If you've been following our website for a while, you've noticed that the cost has steadily kind of increased as we've added services and different optimization techniques that come a little bit more labor intensive, and there's a little bit more involved in the strategy, but it's a one-time cost. We also offer weekly payments for people who want to split up that cost. We try to make it where we can accommodate people of all different types of budgets. And again, it's unlimited images. There's no recurring fees. We work until the work is done. You can see everything in real time. You're going to get verifiable milestones. So you'll get an Excel sheet that kind of lists the content, confirmation emails from created web properties. You'll see images and videos appearing online in a search result for your name. And just to give like an example of what you'll see, here's an example of just links that are sent to you, and then you'll be able to just verify these links, click on the URL and see the actual live web property. Also, you're going to have a separate email account, and you can see here there are plenty of messages in here, about 1,023. So just give you an idea of how we also separate this out, because obviously you don't want 1,000 messages in your email related to this. We keep a separate email account for you. Obviously you have the login information so you can take a look at it, but you have access to everything that we're creating for you, all the content and the web properties. And again, you can see this happening in real time. You have a dedicated search manager, so you have somebody that you can pick up the phone and call, or text if it's easier for you to text, and get progress or updates on the progress of your reputation management campaign, and we'll answer any questions that you have as well. And it's not something where we're going to be upselling you or trying to get more money out of you. It's just simply a person that you can talk to in regards to the service if you have any questions. And again, I ask you, how much is it worth to you to have peace of mind to know that you have your reputation protected, restored, and crafted in a manner that benefits you in your personal life and professional life the best that it can possibly do? So this is kind of just a run through of everything that you get with this service, so that way you understand exactly what it is that you're purchasing. And if you have questions, I mean, you can give us a call and we'll be more than happy to discuss any other questions that you may have, or there may have been something that I might have missed in this video. So that kind of covers the mugshot removal. And again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to discuss any kind of concerns or additional things that I may not have covered that you are interested in discussing.